If you are still looking for the strategy that always wins, I have bad news for you. It does not exist, and the search itself is the exact thing keeping you broke. You have probably tried more setups than you can count. One indicator, then another, a new course, a new mentor, a new system that someone on YouTube swore changed their life. And every time you start, you feel hope. This is the one. This time it will work. Then a few losing trades arrive, and that little voice starts again. Maybe this strategy is broken. Maybe the real answer is somewhere else, so you go hunting again. But that is not trading, that is collecting, and collecting strategies is not the same as making money. So in this video, I want to change the way you think about this completely, not as a hunt for the perfect method, not as a search for a secret, but as something far more uncomfortable and far more useful. By the end, you will understand why the strategy was never your problem, why chasing a better one is a trap, and what actually separates traders who make money from traders who keep starting over. Because the goal is not to find one more strategy, the goal is to stop needing one. The myth that keeps you stuck. Let us name the enemy first. The belief is simple. Somewhere out there is a perfect strategy, a setup that wins almost every time, a system with no painful losing streaks. And if you just keep searching, one day you will find it. This belief feels smart. It feels responsible. You are doing your homework. You are being thorough. You are not lazy. You are studying. But here is the problem. The belief is a lie, and it is a very expensive lie. No strategy wins every time. Not the one your mentor uses. Not the one the institutions use. Not the one you are about to buy. Every single method that has ever existed has losing streaks built into it. Losing streaks are not a bug, they are part of the design. So when you abandon a strategy after a few losses, you are not escaping a bad method. You are running from something completely normal. You are quitting right at the moment every system goes through. A strategy with a real edge can still lose 4, 5, 6 times in a row. That does not mean it is broken. That means it is a strategy. Why the search feels productive, but is actually destructive. Imagine a table with 100 keys on it. You are told one of those keys opens the door in front of you. What do most people do? They grab all 100 keys. They start trying them one by one, faster and faster, frustrated, sweating, convinced the right key must be in the pile. But here is the trap. Even if you are holding the correct key, if you only try it for 3 seconds before grabbing the next one, you will never know it was the right one. You will throw away the winning key because it did not open the door instantly. That is exactly what strategy hopping does to you. You find a method that actually works. You run it for 2 weeks. You hit a normal rough patch, and you conclude this key is wrong, and you drop it. Then you grab a new key, new rough patch, drop it, new key, another rough patch. You are not failing because the keys are bad. You are failing because you never hold one long enough to see it open the door. The search feels like effort. It feels like you are doing something, but you are not building anything. You are just spinning. And every time you start over, your confidence gets a little weaker and your patience gets a little shorter. The real reason traders lose, here is the truth, almost nobody wants to hear. The knowledge you need to trade profitably is not complex. It is not hidden in some secret course. It is not locked behind one magic indicator. Most of it is simple. Buy near demand. Sell near supply. Manage your risk. Cut losses. Let winners run. Wait for your conditions. Willow, you probably already know most of this. So if the knowledge is simple, why do most traders still lose? Because the problem was never the knowledge. The problem is applying it consistently. The problem is doing the same correct thing over and over, even when it is boring, even after a loss, even when a different shiny method is calling your name. That is where everyone falls apart. Not at the level of information, at the level of execution. And the cruel part is this. The more strategies you collect, the worse your execution gets, because every new method resets your discipline back to zero. You never give yourself enough repetitions to actually get good at anything. Think about it. If you spend 90 out of every 100 hours consuming new information, you are only spending 10 hours actually practicing. That ratio is killing you. It needs to flip. 10% learning, 90% practicing the same thing until it becomes part of you. What separates the ones who make it? Let me describe 2 traders. The first one is the collector. Every month he has a new method. He can talk for hours about indicators, about smart money, about every concept you have ever heard of. His charts are covered in lines and tools. He sounds incredibly knowledgeable, and his account keeps shrinking. He is always one strategy away from success. Always searching, never arriving. The second trader is boring. She trades one setup, one market, one time window. She has been doing the same thing for months. She is not impressive at parties. She cannot explain 10 different systems, but she knows her one setup deeply. She knows exactly when it works and when it does not. She has taken it hundreds of times, and slowly, quietly, her account grows. The difference between them is not intelligence. It is not access. It is not a secret strategy. The difference is that one kept searching and the other committed. The collector has 100 keys and an unopened door. The boring trader has one key and a habit of turning it the same way every single time until it opens. How to actually know if a strategy works? Now here is where people get nervous. They ask, but how do I know my strategy is not actually broken? How do I know I am committing to the right thing and not just being stubborn? That is a fair question. And there is an answer that has nothing to do with how the last few trades felt. It is called testing. Real testing. You take your method and you check it against a large amount of past data. Not 5 trades, not 10 trades, hundreds of trades across different market conditions, trending markets, falling markets, sideways markets. Then you look at one thing. Over all those trades, does the math come out positive? When you account for how often it wins and how much it makes when it wins versus how much it loses when it loses, is the result positive over the long run? If the answer is yes, you have an edge. And once you can see in the data that you have an edge, your job is no longer to look for something better. Your job is to follow it, to execute it, to stop touching it. The question is never, is there a better strategy out there? There is always a better looking strategy out there. The real question is, can you follow the one that already works? The discipline that ends the search. Let me be direct with you. Discipline is not willpower. Willpower runs out, especially right after a loss, when you are desperate and a new method is whispering in your ear. Discipline has to be a structure, a decision you made before the emotion arrived. So here is the structure that ends the search. Pick one method that you have actually tested, then make a rule that you cannot interpret your way out of. You will trade only this, for a fixed period, no matter what. Not until it feels right, not until you get bored, for a set number of trades or a set number of weeks. During that time, you are not allowed to add a new indicator. You are not allowed to buy a new course. You are not allowed to switch because of a rough patch. You freeze the search, and in that frozen window, something finally happens. You start collecting repetitions. You start seeing the real pattern of your method, not the fantasy version, the real one, with its real losing streaks and its real winning streaks. You start to trust it, not because it feels good, but because you have evidence. That is the moment the search ends. And that is the moment you actually start to grow. Run this checklist before you chase the next strategy, before you abandon your method and start hunting again. Run through this. Have you actually tested this strategy across hundreds of trades, or are you reacting to the last few? If it is the last few, you do not have a reason. You have an emotion. Second, is this a real losing streak or just a normal one? Every working system loses several times in a row. Is this actually unusual, or is this just trading? Third, are you spending 90% of your time learning and 10% practicing? If so, you do not need a new method. You need more repetitions of the one you have. Fourth, are you the collector or the committed one? Be honest. Do you have 100 keys and an unopened door? Fifth, if you cannot point to data that says this strategy has no edge, then you do not have a reason to quit it. You only have the itch to search, so stop asking, what is the best strategy? Ask better questions. Have I tested this? Have I followed it long enough? Am I running from a normal losing streak? Am I confusing collecting with learning? And am I finally willing to hold one key long enough to open the door? The perfect strategy is not out there. It never was. The thing you are actually looking for is not a new method. It is the discipline to stop looking. And good traders do not search for more strategies. They master the one they already have.